I want to welcome you to my channel. I am Angela, always Angela. If you have not yet, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But we're going to move along because Carisa has a wonderful story to share.
Thank you for having me on this crisp fall day.
Yes, I'm glad.
It is definitely crisp, but it's nice.
Yes.
So I'm enjoying.
Hopefully the birds
here.
won't take over.
Won't try to take over the conversation.
They got things to say.
Everybody got something to say. Well, again, thanks for having me. So we can continue our talk. And for those that haven't guessed, I can talk about faith all day.
Amen.
I have not been one to talk about, quote unquote, my story necessarily. And it is mine to tell, and that's what I've always said. And I said, when God gives me the words, they'll flow.
Amen.
And so I thank you for, encouraging me to talk a little bit about it and think, because it has been a journey.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
But one, I'm very grateful that he chose me to go on. And when I say that and talking to people, they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, really. It means a lot because my story could have been very different.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of obstacles, that we've talked about that he did not have to bring me through. Mm-hmm. I could have been saddled with needing a rollator to get around and not get progressing further and further to get to a cane. And I don't need it every day. So I'm grateful that my walk, and obstacles are always there, and Satan's always, get in there. He busy, and so I've had a few instances occur with my balance, even very recently.
All right, wait.
That
we're not talking. We're not talking about pickleball, are we? Because I'll fall out in pickleball.
One of those things.
I'm still trying to figure out.
Just being in the yard, I was like finding myself falling and tripping on things. It wasn't just, now pickleball, when they say you haven't fallen, my doctor always asks me, have you had any falls in the last 6 months or 12 months? And I'm happy to go to 12 months and be like, no. But now this time I had to say, yeah, I have. And they're like, okay, did you fall in the house, trip over your own feet? I said, I tripped on the pickleball court. She said, oh.
That don't count.
Anybody can do that, so we don't count that. So I said, oh, okay, that's encouraging. I had to give it a big thumbs up. Like, yes, that's encouraging.
Yes.
But the slip and fall, she said, well, we're going to count that. And so your clock does start over. But, what have you put in place, things. And I just said, common sense. Maybe I won't walk across a wet board. When the rain is coming down and all that. Yeah. And so she said, okay, well then I don't think we need to go and add any additional things or precaution in place. You just need to, like everybody, think before you do something and make sure your footing is good and what you're standing on is good. So I'm grateful for that because I really do like pickleball.
A girl.
And I want to do it.
You're good at it though.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good with it. Yeah. Got back on the court. I stayed off my 6 weeks like my doctor told me after I fell. And my sisters, well, they probably would have said forever.
Yeah, I didn't condone this.
Everybody got a disclaimer when it comes to them.
I'm gonna have a disclaimer. Angela did not condone this.
You gonna run that on the street?
Do not come for me, please. And thank you.
I'm not mad at you for that. Okay.
I'm not answering any Texas calls.
Oh gosh, they love me.
They do, and that's the best thing because you know what? Jokes aside. You know they got your back.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know that they will walk here if they had to make sure that you were okay. And they love you.
Would catapult
and I can
themselves
imagine how scary it was.
At my side.
Oh yeah, to hear that you had fallen and
And fallen and hit my head. And
on the concrete.
On the concrete. Yeah, that was and I made the decision all by myself not to call them until I knew something more.
Right.
But when you're dealing with somebody that loves you, cares for you, and has walked this journey with you, and there's no good time to call them to say I've fallen and hit my head on concrete.
Because they're going to be upset anyway. Very upset, of course.
Yeah, very upset, because it's like you come and then you got all these things to tell yourself is wrong, and then you make the decision, like I did, to get the CAT scan and make sure nothing's wrong, or see what's wrong before the call is made. And they're still like, anything could have happened. I wanted to know, blah, blah, blah. So you just never know.
Right.
But the thing is, it's good to take the precaution.
Right.
And I'm getting into this because I want to talk about there is life after anything that happens to you.
Perfect. That's why we get along so well. Because some people would have tiptoed through life.
Yeah.
And you are way too young, too beautiful, have too much life ahead of you to tiptoe through life.
Yeah. I want to live.
Go ahead and tell us about how you dance through life.
I do. I really do try to live through life and just live. I mean, for the longest time, for those 3-4 years that I was at home and wasn't going anywhere, those were long years.
Yeah.
But, God persevered. So he got me through it. He prepared me, y'all. Y'all didn't know it, but he was preparing me for that pandemic. Because I knew how to stay at home. I ain't had no problem staying at home.
So I'm fine with my company.
I got right on in the house. I pulled out my old coloring books and even got to get the coloring and the puzzles, right. And coloring on the apps and everything. And even doing puzzles on the app. So all of that, that I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And I settled in and it was okay, which I know a lot of people had a hard time being at home. But I'm grateful that, he did give me that preparation where you do know how to be at home. You know how to entertain yourself. You know how to be at peace. You know how to be happy in this space.
Right.
And so it was very helpful in that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And productive. Doing crafts. I'm always doing something.
Yes.
Maybe I'll share a few of my clips of my recent
yes, of course
crafts.
We will.
And let her share.
Yes, we will.
Because I had a friend that came into my yard and say, oh, I like it. It's just it's a lot to see though, and then checking out the new stuff. That's amazing.
Right,
things I had put down,
Well, she can't talk. She's busy all the time.
I know she's
what
busy.
A blessing.
All the time. So I enjoy that, and if it's something that I can do with my hands, I feel a lot better in doing that and saying, okay, I've done something. Because in the time of this recovery and everything, the arthritis was something that, the medically induced diabetes was one thing, and thanking the Lord that once I got on regular infusions and treatments, that got contained.
Yes.
Yeah, and then went away.
Yeah, no more metformin and no more drama.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the present
stuff.
Yes, yeah, back to the better stuff. But yeah, it can be a lot. So the arthritis is like your body. Like when I wasn't mobile and I wasn't doing things, the arthritis just started to ravish my joints. And then the lovely osteoarthritis started to ravish my hands. So, when I say I want to be able to do something with my hands, and every time I can do something, I can paint something, I can craft something together. I took sticks from a tree limbs that were being cut, and I made a flower bed from it. Because it's yes, I had to twist the wire, but I showed my hands. So I was grateful in that. And you got to find your wins. And the 25 cent, which I don't even think Lowe's do that anymore. 50% flowers. I do not mind a flower from the clearance rack. About dead. Even some might say is dead. It's a better price, okay? But if you look down in there and it's got some green, you're good.
You can do it.
So I would get those. I start small. So I get those. I'm that gave me a sense of accomplishment. I remember one time I was laid off from work and I did that.
Right.
And I just remembered that and just continued that, and just flower beds and things like that, and just enhancing them. Taking something that somebody doesn't want or think is nothing and making something out of it. And it's just made my garden, my Adoratica, my place of peace, Could just call it a peace garden. Not too easy. But Adirondack, it's made it a really nice place. And I'm looking forward to next spring. Even though we're just getting into the fall of this year, I'm looking forward to next spring because I made some changes to it and going to make some more changes. So it's just the things you find your ability to be productive. You find your ability to find your sense of accomplishment.
There you go.
Everybody's sense of accomplishment is going to be different.
Right.
And you have to know that when you have physical limitations, your first move is to accept them. And when I say accept them, I don't mean sit with them, sleep with them, and get all cozied up to them that y'all just walking along or creeping along in life. You accept them, and then you challenge them to make sure that you can do you along with them. And so it's one of the biggest changes that I've had to make in my life, because I've always considered myself to be a person that, I mean, you know, I'm ambitious, always have been. And so I try to accomplish a lot in my life. And so when I look at the things that I want to accomplish, and I look and say, well, yeah, so that picture changed for me. And so the change is just that, it's changing. And so when you look at a change in your life or your new normal, it is changing. It has changed for me. I accept my limitations, and I do absolutely what I can to be who I want to be, or even who I need to be within those limitations. And yeah, I do push it. You know, I'll say to Lisa and Mary sometimes. Because, you know, like she was saying about pickleball. Pickleball is a lane I can stay in. Kickboxing, it's not.
Probably not.
Yeah, couldn't do that. But I did try it. I did try it to say this is something I can do.
Right.
And so I did the intro part of it, and I said, I ain't gonna be able to do that. Oh, I should say, like Vincent said that time, my dear friend Andrea, rest her soul, when he wanted to sit in the swimming class, he said, oh, my heart ain't in it. So about that kickboxing, my heart wasn't in it. And I had to realize that.
And so that sounds like the answer to my question, which was, you said you have to find your thing, right? So I was going to ask you, how do you find it? But it looks like you're already telling us.
Oh, yeah. You find it by continuing to push yourself. Right. Just like you press in, when you got something you really need and you pray, that's all a part of it. You pray and ask God, say, I'm pressing in for this. Well, you press yourself into something. You press yourself into how much you can move. And get all the wheelbarrows and carts and everything you need to make things easier for your gardening. Right. I got a bunch of tools, and I can't do yard work, you know, anywhere near like I used to. But I got things on wheels. I got seats that I sit on. I got cushions all over the place.
Remember you made the raised
yes, and I made, people have raised beds. They don't always raise them 4 feet up.
But you raised
But I did because I can't do all of that stooping and picking. And I had wonderful greens from it every year. Next year,
and too tall
I'll be doing
the corn.
I know. And then,
now you're going to have to tell
him it's called, yeah. His nickname is Too Tall. So Derek, he's a farmer himself, okay? Yes, indeed. So he's giving me a lot of tips, and we share tips, and they send me fertilizer and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
and the watermelon.
they tell me what kind to get. Oh, yeah, and what things to try. Yeah, because my watermelons were rotting, and he was like, they grow on sand. Maybe put some sand down. I got some sand. I put it down, and some straw. So I have something to rest on. And they actually got red. They didn't get very big, but this was my first time. I'm going to harvest the seeds and do it again next year. And, you know, seeds pollinated here. It'll probably do that much better. I've learned that, too.
So we're painting. You do pickleball. Definitely a gardener. So the joke is, which is not really a joke, but the saying is that this child can grow rocks. You put rock in the dirt, and she'll grow something from it. So... Definitely.
You'd be surprised how well that works now.
Right. She said, don't joke on it now. But I love the idea that when I met you, you were in the ground gardening. Like, you know, you had your garden in a
Yeah.
section in your
I had a friend that had a tiller, and I
Right.
tilled up
Oh
my
my
6x12, my 8x12 area with a great big old tiller. Yeah, exactly, all of that. I
Right,
did
but
that.
to not throw away those things that were passionate for you, that
Yeah.
you know you enjoy growing things, and
Yeah.
you know,
I got back to a garden.
right, but
It looks very different. I even had a friend of mine say, "That ain't no garden," and I said, "Guess
it
what?
is too.
It's my garden."
Yes,
yes,
it
it is too.
Yes, I'm is
Yes,
too.
I is gonna garden over there.
I can't remember whose little
Oh
cousin
my
used to say that.
gosh! I know who cousin did.
My cousin,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I
I
just
is.
love that because that's a lot of things that you're still able to do
Yeah.
and still worked your way up to being able to drive.
Yeah.
Longer than just to the Kroger and the drugstore, but now even to my house.
I'm so grateful that that Kroger, they opened that super or marketplace Kroger by my house. Because then it gave you somewhere to go. That was in a 2-mile radius.
What are you in Kroger? I'm just walking around.
I'm
checking
just,
out the sales.
At first, I was just riding around.
Right. She said one step at a time.
I would get to Kroger and I would ride around in the cart, and everybody, all the employees knew me, and those that are still there still do. But yeah, I would ride around at Kroger, ride around, check out the sales. I just would be riding up and down the house. Then when I got to the point where I could walk better, I would walk with a cart.
Right.
And if I tired, they would go get me a cart and bring me one. I remember wearing the battery out on the cart, and then they would bring me another one.
Said,
so yes, I've had a lot of experiences in Kroger as far as the riding too. And Auntie, oh gosh, just celebrated her 89th.
Yay! Congratulations! Happy birthday, Auntie!
So yeah, for all these years, she'd be driving me up to Kroger's door, and I would go in and get in my car. She would go park way up the parking lot and come strolling in. And I would get in there and I'd say, this is supposed to be the other way around, right? I'm supposed to be dropping you off, my 83-year-old. Versus the other way, So we have lots of, oh yeah, we've had lots of laughs with her. She says, just like anybody, everybody wants to be useful. Everybody wants to be able to have something to add to something. So it makes her feel fulfilled to be able to help and do for her family.
Right. What a blessing.
So
now there was another thing that I also wanted to mention. I shared with a friend of mine. So I was talking with someone and they were telling me that they had some sort of discomfort or didn't feel good or something. And they were saying, oh, but it's nothing compared to what you're going through. And it reminded me of something that Carisa tells me quite often. And it also is the epitome of her care for people. It's like she told me that she was saying she may be going through this, but it does not negate what I'm going through. And therefore she made herself available to be present, to listen. And so I think that's really important for her to share with our audience even more about how you can have that mindset, because I ain't lying, sometimes people just get a little bit sick and they just cranky.
Yeah.
And get on your nerves.
Yeah.
But you just didn't go through all of that. So share,
And I'm going to tell you, I can tell you that it's God. It's not me and how great I am or how well I take on the situation, because I'm human.
Right.
And it gets to you. But what I realized in walking in faith, is that it's not that you're not going to encounter the things, but you got to have faith in God, because He's faithful and He's going to bring you through it.
Yes.
He's going to make the way passable enough that you can get through it. And so what I found in that, though, in conversations, because people would come and they would talk to me and they would say, well, this, that, and the other's going on, this, that, and the other's going on. But I'm not even going to mention it because it's nothing compared to what you're going through. And I started to notice that, and I was like, well, wait a minute now. Just because my story, you know my
Right.
journey a little bit of, those people that are in my closer network,
Right,
the people
right.
that I talk to, they know what I've been through, and even at the time, still going through. But I would tell them that just because you see mine and you see my ups and downs and you see me way down, then you see me try to get back up and I may be down again. It doesn't diminish your pain.
Right.
It doesn't diminish the effect that what you're going through, the journey you're on right now. It doesn't diminish that for you.
Right.
Because regardless of how something may look, feel, or even be dramatically hard on somebody else, it don't diminish how much what your journey or your pain or your weight or whatever you're carrying may be putting on you. And so I try to always remember that, have that compassion for someone else, because that's what God does for us every day. He gives us the grace. Yes, between that splinter that's gotten in your finger and you want to cry about it, when really just pull it out and it's gone, He can say that. I try to also think about just how painful that may be, because that may be the first splinter that person has ever experienced being in their finger.
Right.
And they really don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And while it may seem like, to me, that's nothing, pull it out and get over it.
Right.
You can't be that way. You got to extend that grace and say, yeah, I know that's hard on you, but let me tell you what we're going to do about it.
Right.
We're going to pull that out and we're going to keep going. Because I tell you, I always say, my biggest cheerleader, that's Mary. Because I could be having a really bad day and she would be like, oh, girl, whether she believe it or not, I ain't bothered to ask.
I believe she believes it. I believe she believes it.
I would say, oh, God, I'm feeling bad today. I have no energy. I'm just having a fatigue day. She's like, girl, you got this. Oh, all you got to do is just get dressed. You get you some clothes on, you're going to feel that much better. Get you some coffee. You're going to feel that much better. I know you enjoy that. But just any and everything to just encourage you. And so you have that cheerleader in your life.
Right.
You need to have someone in your life that can encourage you through anything. And then it's like the calls every day. So they were on their schedule. I would get a call from Mary, because she started her day earlier than Lisa. And then Lisa would talk to me on her drive to work. And then after that, then Carisa would call me on her drive to work.
You go.
So I got a little bit of God in every morning. I got a little bit of that traffic talk too. We'll talk about that.
Right.
But have the people in your life that know you first and foremost. And can know your journey.
Exactly.
And know you're going to have the love and respect for one another.
Right.
To extend the grace that's necessary. Because I could have a boulder on my shoulder, but that board that's on yours could mean just as much.
Exactly.
And I don't want to diminish it. That doesn't negate what's happening with you.
Amen. That is so wonderful. Look at God.
Look at God, he's right, because he's who's giving me that perspective for sure.
All right. Well, the bride is here.
Oh, I didn't even see her come in.
Our little friend is here. She's getting married soon, and so we're gonna cut out, and we will follow up with our conversation with Carisa. I know you all have questions. I've been getting your emails and your messages. Just keep them coming.
Yes, and I will be checking the comments for any questions directed to me. I'll be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Open to the conversation.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, be blessed and know that the conversation continues. Always Christ, no cliches.
Thank you.
All right. That's all right. That's a whole